Eddie Hearn has revealed Anthony Joshua's three-fight plan for 2023 in a bid to make him three-time heavyweight world champion. Eddie Hearn has been quoted to say he wants to return with a top 15 guy, then in the summer probably versus Dillian Whyte, and then a mega fight with Deontay Wilder at the tail end of the year. Now, this is the news we've kind of been waiting for a little while now. That, as well as the kind of long-term training setup for Anthony Joshua, which has been for a very long time, best part of a year now, pie in the sky. It's been a bit of an unknown commodity. Obviously, Angel Fernandez was kind of kept on as a main trainer. He did kind of try and bring in other people, but it's now looking like he's stripping back again and recycling maybe other people. There was talk of Roy Jones Jr., of all people, which I don't really think would have been a great fit for Anthony Joshua in terms of his fighting styles. I haven't really been impressed with Roy Jones' work with Chris Eubank Jr. Again, just two different fighters that are not capable of doing the same things. A great fighter doesn't necessarily make a great trainer. Anyway, back to the three-fight plan, because there's a little bit to unpack here. It's a bit peculiar to me in terms of returning with a top 15 guy and then a fight against Dillian Whyte. Because what that says to me is, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but Dillian Whyte, is he currently a top 15 guy? I'm not sure about that. I can think of a lot of people in the top 15 that I would favour to derail Dillian Whyte from his senses again. So I would have thought a Dillian Whyte would be a perfect comeback fight. He's beaten before, so you would have good confidence to beat him again. Dillian Whyte's obviously shot to pieces at this point. Doesn't have his legs that he used to. He lost a lot of foot speed. I mean, he never had great balance before, but that must be compromised even more. His kind of ability to take a punch is crashed. He did used to have a good chin, but to be fair, ever since the Anthony Joshua fight, it has been slipping. I think a lot of hard sparring has not done him any favours. So I'm a little bit surprised that that's going to be after an apparent top 15 guy. I imagine the thinking is that's a big money fight if they can kind of convince the public that AJ's back and, you know, he hasn't fallen by the wayside. So if they can get him a kind of a convincing win and then go into Dillian Whyte, they might be able to make a bit of money back on AJ, because that's obviously what it's all about at the end of the day. They can't slip too far down the pecking order in terms of comeback fights, because they've got a lot of money invested in Anthony Joshua, and although DAZN must have had a redundancy plan in place with their big deal they had with AJ in case he lost that second fight to Usyk, I'm sure they're still paying him a lot of money. So yeah, I imagine that is why they're hoping, although Dillian Whyte is not necessarily a more competitive fight than who they might pick for the first one, it's probably going to be a bigger money fight if they can build it correctly. So the next thing to kind of unpack from all this, they say return with a top 15 guy. Now that should have most people's alarm bells ringing, because top 15 is a bit fluid. We've heard a lot of times, he'll be fighting a top 10 guy, a top 15 guy. A lot of the time that's been said with prospects or Tyson Fury in a lot of cases. They said that when he was fighting Derek Chisora and Otto Wallin, etc. And they were kind of manufactured to top 15 people who just conveniently slid into their rankings with no prior kind of evidence that they were deserving of that. So a top 15 guy, I mean, it could really mean anything. Anyone could slot in at top 15. So yeah, my preference would be, I mean, I don't want to see the fight at all. I'm not interested. Even though Anthony Joshua's confidence is down low, I'm just not interested in seeing him fight Dillian Whyte. If Dillian Whyte was back a few years prior to the Povetkin loss, then yeah, I think that'd be a better fight. I still wouldn't pick him to win by any stretch. I'm really not interested in it, but for the sake of argument, it's a good comeback fight for confidence building. So I would say that one first, and then the top 15 guy. Who the top 15 guy is, it's hard to say. Let's have a look at some of the rankings. So if I go to the Ring rankings, because they tend to be slightly better than someone like BoxRec or one of the sanctioning bodies. And let's see who it could possibly be. Oh, saying that, the Ring only goes to top 10. So I'm going to bring up BoxRec, because obviously they go for the full list. But I'll also bring up Ring just as a kind of comparison, just to see what they've got going. So if we start from the top down, and I'll just see who seems likely. So at champion, obviously we've got Tyson Fury. That's not going to happen. Number 2, Alexander Usyk. Again, obviously not going to happen. They've got Anthony Joshua as number 3. Now, not sure Anthony Joshua is necessarily deserving of being number 3, but regardless. 4, Andy Ruiz. No, he's looking like he's going to be fighting Deontay Wilder, who is in at number 6 on this list. And then following that, we've got Dillian Whyte at number 7. So he's supposed to be the second fight. We've got Luis Ortiz. So is it worth digging Luis Ortiz out his grave again to run around with Anthony Joshua? I mean, it's a pretty similar fight to kind of a Derek Chisora, or I guess even a Dillian Whyte at this stage. I think Ortiz would give something for AJ to think about for a couple of rounds, but would probably end up getting brutally knocked out in probably the 5th round, I would have thought. I'm not really sure how much Ortiz has got left. I think that Andy Ruiz fight said quite a lot, really. Then who else have we got? Daniel Dubois. I mean, although Frank Warren has historically said he'd love to put Dubois in there with AJ, and I'm sure he is confident. I think following Dubois' recent couple of fights where he's looked a bit shaky, to be honest. I say last couple of fights. It was really just his last fight against Kevin Lerena. Before that was Trevor Bryant, of course, who he kind of walked through. But yeah, he didn't look brilliant against Kevin Lerena. So I don't think they'll be rushing to get him in with AJ just yet. After that, Joseph Parker, again, he's on his own rebuild. I'm sure he'd take a fight with AJ for the money, but it's not going to happen at this stage. Also, he's got his own fight penciled in. Derek Chisora, 11, not going to happen. 12, Kubrat Pulev, only just fought him. 13, Martin Bakole, much too dangerous. That's a much more dangerous fight than Dillian Whyte at this stage, so they won't be doing that. They won't be jumping in with Bakole next, I wouldn't have thought. Frank Sanchez, no, that ain't going to happen, is it? And then number 15, Otto Volin. So will they do Otto next? I mean, there's been a lot of talk from his promoter that, you know, they're in talks, but for me, that's the third fight, not Deontay Wilder. That's the third fight of the year, and then a mega fight next year. But I guess they just can't afford to do that in terms of what they're paying AJ and what the public are going to demand. So is it Otto Volin as the comeback fight? I mean, Southpaw, a little bit tricky, not anything particularly special. He doesn't, he's not an A star in any department. He's a good B minus sort of fighter in kind of all the areas, chin, movement, power, all those sorts of things. There's nothing he's outstanding about. But I think the problem is he'll make it a little bit tricky. I don't think AJ is going to go in there and just knock him spark out. So I don't know that that's necessarily a great comeback fight. But that seems quite likely, because then after that, I mean, there's people just outside the top 15. Yoka, doubt that fight would happen. Makhmudov, not going to happen. Hrgovic could be a nice fight. That could be a good second or third fight. Big strong guy, good power, good fundamentals, coming off a bad victory, which is a weird thing to say. Coming off a bad victory. We've got kind of Helenius, Gassiev after that, Fabio Wardley. None of them are particularly likely. I think Helenius, hasn't he retired? I suppose he'll come off in a little while. Zili Zhang is down there at 25. Again, that's an interesting fight. I'd like to see that. I mean, but again, he's got power and size, and wouldn't have that as a first fight. So yeah, this first fight is a little bit confusing. Are they going to drag someone out who's not even on this 25 list? Is it going to be some completely random person? They're going to do a Tyson Fury and claim Tom Schwartz is a top 10 fighter in some vague sanctioning body kind of corruption. A little bit strange. Then, as I said, the second fight against Dillian Whyte, bit peculiar. I think that should be the first fight. And then a third fight against Deontay Wilder. Are they cashing out? I don't think they're looking to cash out just yet. I mean, they're going to want to recoup a bit more money. Although that Deontay Wilder fight is worth a huge amount of money, do they really want AJ knocked out this year? Because that really will end AJ. Can't have him lose against two of the kind of top three fighters that quickly in that kind of time space. So yeah, guys, let me know what you think. Who do you think is going to be this top 15 fighter? Is it Otto Wallin? Is it somebody else I mentioned, or is it going to be one of these random fighters they pull out of their asses? Also, what do you think about the kind of the order here? You know, am I right in saying that Dillian Whyte is the better comeback fight, not really this second fight, or is it really just about money and they can build that fight a little bit? Might give Dillian Whyte time to have another fight and kind of hopefully look a little bit better than he did in his last fight, because he really did look very poor. And then the final thing I want to mention is, when was the last time Anthony Joshua had 3 fights in 1 year? He's been a 1 fight a year guy for the last 3 years, hasn't he? This seems very unlikely. I mean, we all know how long it takes any Anthony Joshua contract to get ironed out. It's always, one more week. I mean, the Usyk fight, how long did that take? So I'm very sceptical. I mean, if he has 2 fights this year, that would be an achievement. I mean, that would be surprising. It's totally doable, even with Anthony Joshua timeframes, but they need to put their foot down. They need to know these opponents much sooner. I'm sceptical that they'll get 3 fights in. I think that third fight will be the one that got away, and that will be it's not going to happen in October, November, but January, February next year, the big fight. I reckon that I can already tell you that's probably going to be what happens. I'll be very, very surprised if it's 3 fights this year for Anthony Joshua. They've got to take things slow. They've got to get the training set up right, and they've got to get this absolutely right. Let me know what you guys think. Drop a comment below. Remember to follow and drop me a like, and I'll talk to you in the comments.